Let's talk about the concept of permanent home, center of vital interest, habitual abode, and nationality. These four were the key criteria which were there in Article 4.2 and which act as a benchmark, or I may say a criteria, on whether or not a person is a resident of one state or the other. The first one amongst them was permanent home. This word, if you see, is actually a combination of two words, permanent and home. So what are some of the characteristics or criteria that one needs to apply to see where a person has a home and whether that home is a permanent one or not? The word permanent applies that, the house or apartment that we are talking about should be available continuously and not for short stay. So if I have a permanent home available, it should be available to me continuously, right? Second, what is the meaning of home? A home is a place which is a usual residence of a person, right? So if I say I belong to this particular place and I stay there, it's a usual place of residence for me. Whereas if I say I went to a particular place for work-related matters, and because of which I had to stay there for 6 months at a particular place, that place is not a usual residence for me, even though I stayed there for 6 months. The place could be owned, or it could be rented, or it could be a furnished one or an unfurnished one. These criteria are not very relevant, but what is relevant is that this home should be at the disposal of the individual. What that means is that this individual, whenever he wants to enter that home, should have an unfettered right, an absolute right to go and stay at that place. Even when he is not around, this place may be used by his spouse, wife or husband as the case may be, and children. It may not be directly used by him, but as long as it is satisfying other criteria that we discussed, it will be a permanent home for him. If you take a home for pleasure, so you decide to take a 6-month off and you went to some island, right? You take a house on rent there. That will not become your permanent home. For business, like I said, seconded to another country for 6 months. Education, while you were completing your degree, you took a home in a particular country where your college is. Or travel, these are not included as permanent home. The next criteria is where is the center of vital interest. And this is applicable when if a person has permanent home available in both countries, then we need to see what are his closer personal or economic relationship. Okay, with which state are these better? And that's where the center of vital interest lies. So when we say personal or economic relationship or center of vital interest, what it means is where are his family and social relations more closely related. There's a ruling on this aspect in the case of M.A. Rafiq, which you can refer to find out which are the criteria which are applicable. Place of business or occupation, that is an economic relationship, right? Which is the place where he carries on his business or occupation as the case may be. Political or cultural activity. Now obviously this might be related to the country where he has more personal related ties. Residence permit or employment permit could be an indicative of the fact that whether or not his relationships are more rooted to a particular country. So if someone just comes on a business visa, what that means is he's coming there for a short duration maybe. Place of administering property. All these are relevant to understand where the center of vital interest of a person lies. Now, one thing is you have to consider these factors as a whole. You cannot consider them in isolation. And if the personal relationships are tilting over one country and economic relationships are tilting over the other country, normally the preference is given to the personal interest. They are given preference over the economic interest to decide where the center of vital interest for a person lies. Habitual abode. Now, habitual abode will decide residence if the person has a permanent home available in both states, or he does not have a permanent home available to him in either of the state. If he does not have a permanent home available in either of the state, all stay in the state are considered to find out whether or not he has a habitual abode in that